You are now entering the LuxCore Studios. And you've secured a seat for the Protecting Your Radius podcast. Here, we build connections from your contracting profession to some of the top bleeding edge products and services. Don't get deterred. Let's not delay. Here is your host, Nathan Downs.
Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Protecting Your Radius podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Downs, and on today's episode, we have my good friend, Brett Richison with Fencetrac, and he'll be talking about Fencetrac, what it is, how it works, where they're at, where they're going. A special thing about Fencetrac with our program is that they are the main title sponsor currently with the LuxCore Studios. So with a partnership with these guys, we've been able to get all this really cool equipment to make some awesome content for all of you guys and gals out there. So without further ado, Brett, welcome, buddy.
Man, it's good to be here.
I know.
This is a cool vibe. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, very intimate, right?
Yeah.
So, man, let's get right into the bones of the whole thing. You know, we've been talking, we've known each other for over 10 years.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people would be interested to know the advent of how Fencetrac came to be, kind of your background in fence and all that stuff. So just jump right in, man.
Man, I always say that, I guess you could say I'm a third generation fencer, right? My grandfather owns Empire Fence, which has been around for 60 years?
Yeah, like 65, 70 years.
And then my father started Aero Fence Company when he was about 20. I think he asked Grandpa for a raise from the story that I've heard. And Grandpa said, well, I don't know if I want to do that, but how about you start your own company and I'll support that. And so he started his own. So, and then out of high school, I went right into working for my father. And of course, but even until then, all the summers as a kid, you know, I was back there pointing pickets, helping the guys, you know, carry stuff out, cement, you know, wheelbarrow and stuff out to the jobs and stuff. So yeah, I've grew up in the industry and I've been doing it a while. But I think it was around 2011. I was working for my father, Aero Fence. And it was a cold day like today. Like, we just came in from the studio, outside the studio, and it's
like
just
10 degrees outside.
It's freezing outside. It was a similar day to that. And my father, Cliff, was like, hey, Brett, I'm really getting tired of all these callbacks about these gates warping, the treated back rails, the 4x4 posts that they were using at that time. Because we're here in Oklahoma, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where my father had a lot of his projects were home builders that would want, they would give him volume for, a discounted rate.
Sure.
And they were new construction homes. And so the thing is lots of volume, but they want to do treated 4x4s, treated back rails, cedar pickets. Steel posts were starting to kind of take off, but they still weren't as popular as they are today. But the problem with that is after 2 years, things start moving. You know, the posts start warping, the 2x4s start warping. And so the fence looks great for, a couple of years. And then after that, you kind of want to take your sign off of it because everything starts moving around. So he said, we got to do something about this.
Yeah. And
he said, what if we took a piece of steel and kind of encased it on the 2x4s like an angle iron or something like that. And we use steel post. And I was like, Dad, that's a great idea, but that's a lot of work. You know what I mean? So a few days later, I was out cleaning the yard, and I bumped into a piece of U-channel and a light bulb went off in my head, just like, what if we did like a giant picture frame, out of U-channel? So I came back in the office and, hey, Dad, what do you think about this? And he said, let's build it. Let's build like 3 or 4 panels, see what it looks like, out of what we got here in the shop. And, let's just test it out, And so we put up 2 or 3 panels, different heights, different widths. And we stood back and we even spray painted at that time, Now
nice.
We just did whatever just to throw it up quick with the idea.
Right.
And stood back and went, wow, this is a really good look. And then we started realizing with this U-channel frame that you can do more than just your, standard vertical application. You can turn a picket sideways and do horizontal.
Sure.
My father was like, hey, I bet you could put stuff like bamboo in there. And I'm like, hey, let's just calm down here, But we started ordering all different products like vinyl, bamboo, turning them sideways. And we started realizing that we had something here. Like, this is a great idea. But we had no idea. We were in the install business.
Sure. Yeah.
We didn't know anything about manufacturing or releasing a product line.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we knew we had something special. We knew that it was going to change the way people looked at privacy fence, but we didn't know what we were doing, So we had the idea of my father. He grew up with Eddie Gibbs, who's the one who was the founder of Ameristar Fence Products, which they're, most people know who they are,
Sure.
And so he reached out to Eddie and said, "Hey, I've got a new idea. Would you be willing to take your team and come and look at it? Come over to the fence company and look at it." And Eddie said, "Sure, yeah, we'll take a look at what you got, And so he comes over and we present him this new idea. And we said, "Hey, would you ever consider, maybe like doing a royalty for something like this where you guys manufacture it and we would just get a royalty and basically let you guys do all the work,
Sure.
And so Eddie, he said, "Guys, this is a great idea. I love it." But he said, "I'm going to stick with what we do in the ornamental. I don't really want to get in the privacy industry." And he didn't say this at the time, but I kind of think he knew he was getting ready to get out of it because it wasn't much longer. He was, he did, he sold, Asa Abloh acquired Ameristar.
2013.
Yeah. And so he basically patted us on the back and said, "I think you guys got something special here. And if you need me, reach out to me and be glad to help you through it." And he did. We actually called him several times and got advice from Eddie. And so, but when he left and we thought that was our chance, we were like, "Oh my God, it's over."
Right,
what are we going to do now?
Yeah. How are we going to make this?
Yeah. Yeah. Cause we didn't know what we were doing.
Sure.
And so yeah, we just had to, put our heads down and figure it out. And, we were talking about this, at lunch earlier, I mean, there's a lot of times you feel like it's over when you have that opportunity and it doesn't work out like you pictured in your head. And you feel like, maybe I should just give up.
Right.
But really what you should do is you should keep going.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did. We had no idea what we were doing. And we just decided to start figuring it out.
Yeah.
So
what did the first iterations of the manufacturing look like for you guys?
Well, we knew that roll forming was not an option because what roll forming is that's a big long line of tooling and dies and rollers that slowly form it out of these big coils. And it's big money. We didn't have that kind of money. Yeah. So we knew we had to go to press brake, which is the next, probably closest to affordable at that time we could do. So we had to invest in dies where we could press brake it with a machine that basically comes down and stamps it. Basically, it comes down and punches holes, and then you. But the problem with that is you got to do it out of sheets. So you're buying sheets of metal, and then you got to go from one stage to the next. So you got one stage where you have to shear your sheets down to a certain width. Then you got to go to another station and punch holes in it.
Yep.
And then you got to take all those pieces and go to another station and then form the U-channel shape.
Yep.
And so, I mean, it's not efficient.
Sure.
It's not efficient, but that's what we had to do. We had to start, with what we had, what we could. And so we found someone that had those capabilities and we went to them and said, "Hey, we've got a new product idea and we think we can give you some volume." And we started having them press brake it for us.
So one thing I remember from being around when this all started was specifically the coating that was happening at that time, right?
Yeah.
It was a pretty big deal because I'm going to let you tell who was doing the coating of the product upon startup and stuff like that once we kind of got going a year or two in, but really added to a lot of credibility.
Yeah,
of the product, right?
It did. And once again, Eddie and his team, Bill Shanky was part of that deal.
Right.
That whole Ameristar team was really good to us. And I got to give them a lot of credit for, helping us through some of the early stages of Fencetrac, And so since we had already talked to Eddie and showed him the idea, and he said, "Hey, reach out to me," we said, "Hey, we've kind of got figured out how we're going to make this out of galvanized material, but we don't really know how we're going to coat this with a nice finish. And so we actually went over to Ameristar and talked with some of the guys like Bill Shanky, and he said, well, I'll tell you what, Eddie and I we're willing to paint this for you. We'll put it through our E-coat line. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, that's awesome, because that you're getting coated inside and out at that point, because they're dipping in a tank. So you're not just getting that outer layer, it's submerged in a tank and you're getting that full coating. So yeah, that's they were willing to even E-coat it for us. And so we started doing that, and then we would go pick up the painted product and bring it over to our facility and package it at our facility. But yeah, what a blessing. I mean,
Yeah, and that E-coat process, Brett, what's pretty unique about that a lot of people may not know is that actually came from the automotive industry.
Yeah.
And where Eddie and Paul and all those guys over there saw that was from the chassis getting dipped into. And so technical, we always talk about this is going to be a technical show. It's an inline electrodeposition coating, right?
Yeah.
That
sounds fancy.
Yeah. Super fancy, right? So smart. Like I worked there for some time or something. But man, that process and what, like I said, the credibility that it brought instantly to the product. I mean, how many people did we talk to that were like, Ameristar's coating this?
Yeah, that gave us a step up,
right? I mean, absolutely. It was huge. So, have a product. We actually started working together, where I think your brother Kyle referred me over to you to do a commercial for you guys.
Yeah,
if I remember.
Yeah, so
right.
we knew we had to start marketing this idea, right? And we had to get it out there. So we were like, how do we do that? We don't know anything about websites. We don't know anything about marketing. And my brother went to high school with you.
Yeah.
And so we all went to the same school, but you were a couple of years younger.
Yeah, right.
And he said, I got a guy for you. So I meet with you at lunch, and we talk about the product and what we need to do. And sure enough, you were able to help us get all that launched. And so that was a huge help, on the marketing side. Brochures, you even helped us create our first brochure.
Brochures, the website, video, kind of the whole branding from the ground up. I think the only thing that you guys had when we started was the logo.
Yeah, just the logo and, the product itself. But we didn't have any clue on how to get started. Yeah. So
that's awesome. Yeah, it's a long time ago.
It goes by fast, but
absolutely.
But that was probably 10 years ago.
Yeah. So the product's going, things are going along. We had opportunity. We went to our first Fencetrac together.
Yeah.
We went to Vegas.
Yeah, we did. I mean, that was a huge deal because no one had even seen anything like that. Because I think at that time, the only products that were somewhat similar would be a Fortress had a product called Estate.
Yes.
And it was, and I didn't even have any idea about that until that show. And basically it was a wrought iron panel, and they had tabs welded to the ornamental pickets, and you could screw like a 1x6 in between the wrought iron panel. And it was a beautiful look, great product. Yeah. But what was neat about the Fencetrac is the ability to not only be limited to that size. You could do different widths. You could turn the boards separate. So we definitely made an impact on that first Fencetrac show because people are like, what?
Yeah.
It kind of blew people's minds,
We started figuring out how to rack and bias the panels.
Yeah.
Right. Some different things that were limitations of the other products that were out there.
Exactly. Yeah. With Fencetrac frame, it does similar to, and then we did adapt a lot of the slotted hole configuration from Ameristar because that gives the room for forgiveness if you don't set the post, perfectly, or you need some room to play back and forth with when you're installing the product. So yeah, the slotted holes, the ability to rack on grade. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we learned from the best, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I totally agree. So the product's going, we were starting to make it, starting to sell some materials.
Starting to sell material. I mean, I remember when we just able to sell a few projects, and then before a year or two went by, we got our first out of state sales, and that was exciting. Hey, we're shipping this even out of Oklahoma.
Yeah,
but we knew that we had a long way to go, and we were wanting to find that home run, right? We're looking for the home run. And so I think you were with us at the time.
Yep.
We got a call from a distributor who was interested, a major distributor.
Distributor. Yeah.
And it was nerve-wracking. I mean, and so they invited us to their headquarters, and you and I worked hard to come up with
we had a good pitch.
A pitch, yeah.
It was awesome. Had a pitch deck, all sorts of. It was fancy. I mean, we were big time in it. We definitely thought we were, the Cats Meow at that point.
And then once again, it was one of those situations where it was a blessing in disguise. But we went down there. We did our pitch. They loved the product.
Yes.
But our margins weren't quite where it made sense, for them. And we learned a lot from that, though. And we grew from that. But they basically loved the product, but they told us maybe not, it's not no, but not yet, And so, we had to kind of go back, and it felt like that same feeling I felt when Eddie said, you guys are going to be doing good. And it felt like failure, for a second there. You're like, what are we going to do now?
Yeah.
What are we going to do now? And once again, it was one of those deals where, we put our heads down and we just said, we'll just figure it out.
Yeah. And to be completely honest, we were running out of time. We were running out of money. Yeah. And you got to think it wasn't much longer after that I had to leave.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we were at the point collectively as a team going, we can't afford a lot of things, but we didn't want your dream to die.
Right.
So we had to, everyone made pivots and adjustments and stuff. Man.
Yeah. So it was, you were telling me at lunch earlier, you were telling me about a book that you've read.
Yeah. So there's a great book about this called Failing Forward by John Maxwell. And the premise of the book and kind of the overall theme of this show with you, not only to show everyone who Fencetrac is, what you guys are about, but also tell the story that we've lived together for 10 years now of what it actually means to persevere, what it actually means to push forward, even in the face of adversity. Yeah. When how many times, and even times after that, where it felt like there wasn't traction. Like people were like, I love it, but it's too expensive. Man, dude, we heard it all the time, especially at the advent of it.
Right.
Because you got to think, where was the market?
In
the early 2000s.
Dog ear, cedar, and wood post. I mean, we were doing something that was way ahead of what the market was ready for.
Yeah, exactly. And then they would compare it to like vinyl systems or whatever. And it's like, well, it's kind of like you're buying two fences in one.
Yeah.
Right. You're buying an ornamental fence and you're buying a privacy fence.
Right.
So what can we offer as an infill option? And then, so jumping ahead in time, you have a big team now. You guys are blowing up. I mean, in the last 2 or 3 years, a lot of it is with COVID and stuff like that, construction, as we all know, has just boomed unbelievably, but especially on premium products that provide awesome solutions for customers, kind of go through what that has looked like last.
The market is starting to see what my vision was in the beginning, where they weren't quite ready for it, but they're starting to realize that fence is an investment, and it's not, fence was always kind of like a thing, back in the early 2000s. And before then it was we have to do that. And it's always last on their mind. And now with products like Fencetrac and other products that, give more value to your property, whether it's commercial or residential, I think people are starting to see that like this is worth the investment. It's worth the money that we're spending on it because these products are getting better all the time. They're evolving. And we're really going for that one and done, product in a way, in a way, because once you spend that kind of money on a fence, if you have 200 feet and you spend $10,000 on your fence, you don't want to spend it again. You want to be one and done. Where if you do, some of the items like wood post, and there's a good chance that you'll be doing that 3 times in the next 20 years, where with products like Fencetrac or Ameristar or, things that are built to last, you're not going to mess with that again. And that's a great feeling. And I think people are starting to come around to that, and they're realizing that this is worth the investment. And so these last 5 years have definitely been, a lot easier to sell a product like Fencetrac than it ever has been.
Yeah. So it felt like over time that you were the market leader of this style of fence and stuff. Now there's even some people that have very similar products and similar looks and stuff. So.
Yeah, every time we go to a fence tech show, we see more and more where, we have a patent on Fencetrac, of course.
Yeah.
But they're kind of coming out with they look similar from a distance, put it that way, but it's not the same. But yeah, we've definitely started something, I mean, we've started, I guess you could call it a trend, but I think it's not really just a trend. I think this is something that is a look that's going to last. I mean, I think people are going to want something like this. I don't really see it changing, I mean, trends come and go, but I think this is something that is going to change the fence industry forever. I think you're going to see more of these lifetime privacy fences or ornamental fences stay, and it's going to be the thing to do. And I think if you're an installer or a fence company, get ready, because this modern era is it's already here. I mean, it's been here for about 5 years or 10 years, but it's going to keep growing, and you're going to see more products like this in demand. And I think that, start learning about these products, because it's definitely going to be the future of fence for sure.
And I know that's one thing we talked about with this podcast and show was teaching people about these innovative ideas, these new services and products. So that way we can be out there in the marketplace and really inform our customers or potential customers about the solutions that are available.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And it would have taken off a lot sooner, but everyone, it goes back to price point, right?
Sure.
Everyone's like you said, the oh my gosh, that's so expensive, but we're seeing the perspective change, and it's not overnight, but every year that goes by, it gets easier and easier to sell these products that are going to be lifetime products. And so, if not lifetime, long lasting product, so it's coming. And so I really do, I 100% believe that in the next 10 years, your dog ear cedar, your cap and trim, your products that have been around for a long time, they're not going to go away, but they're going to minimize. I mean, you're going to see them kind of like now with chain link, right? How, if you were to say what percentage is the new black vinyl coated chain link versus the galvanized chain link, are you saying you're seeing a huge trend and everyone wants something coated or black?
100%, right?
Yeah. Or where chain link, before products like Ameristar, chain link was your perimeter security, right?
Bread and butter, right?
Now it's ornamental iron, right? I mean, it's they want something that looks beautiful, that lasts a long time. And so it's not any different in the privacy, industry either. It's going to do the same thing. I'm not saying that you'll never put up a dog ear fence again, but you'll see the percentage go down over the next 10 years tremendously, I think.
One thing that myself and your dad have talked about is we discussed often about how the generational buying is different today than it was 30, 40, 50 years ago. So he was telling me, he said, imagine this, 40 years ago, we like Bob, Grandpa, was actually selling materials and would drop it off at someone's house because they were putting up the fence themselves. Bro, how many people are putting up fences themselves now?
Yeah.
Very minimal compared to what we see. And our market's a great example. Every house has a fence, for the most part. But, thinking about your dad had mentioned to me as we were talking and being competitors, right? He said, look at how people are spending money. That your generation, the under 40s, are not afraid to spend a couple grand on their backyard, or 10,000 or 20,000. Where before that, think about it, even 10 years ago.
Yeah.
No one would
Fence has always been bastardized in a way. I mean, it's always like, oh, I have to do this. It's the last thing they want to do, right? But now with these products, they enhance. They look so good, and they have value, and they enhance your property, whether it's commercial or residential. So, I mean, think about it. I mean, you're going to build $1 million house or $1 million commercial building, and you're going to put something
right
that takes away from that.
Yeah.
Or are you going to do something that enhances the look of that property? And I think people are starting to see that, and they're going, we just need to fit this in the budget. And I've thought of this a lot too, you know, says I've been around the home building industry a lot because, you know, we used to do so many projects for home builders, and I would always look in the homes and talk to customers and talk to the home builders, and you'd hear what they would spend on some of the house. And, you know, Fencetrac can cost up to 2.5 to 3 times more than your standard privacy fence, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that freaks people out a lot. But then if you think about it, you're putting something that around your whole property that is encased in steel or metal, you know, and then, and depending on what infill you choose, the infill could last forever. You don't have to do it again. Whether, you know, cedar, you might have some maintenance, but if you do the vinyl or composite, no maintenance.
Yep.
And they might have to spend $20,000 when they're used to spending $3,000. But then they don't blink an eye when their home builder comes in and prices them $150,000 for a kitchen.
Right. Yeah.
That nobody sees. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's like, it's all about perspective and what means. Fence just didn't have any value to people. I mean, it didn't have, and it's starting to change. You're starting to see that change where fence is important to people, where it's not the last thing on their list. They're starting to think, this is going to enhance my property. Yeah. And I think that's why the trends are changing, and they're going to change to stay. It's not going to go back. They're just going to, fence is becoming more valuable.
Yeah. And one thing, like me as a buyer, so I built my house 5 years ago. You built a new house 2 years ago.
Do you want something that's going to fall apart at your new house?
Well, it was, but even exactly. But on top of that, thinking about from the perspective of, you know, we chose a floor plan and a footprint of a house that was smaller than I could afford or really wanted. But what we did was, and you've seen what I've done, we extended the patio, put on a giant pergola, put an outdoor fireplace. So we treat that outdoor living area as an extension of the house, because it sure is.
Yeah.
Right. And there's so many people doing that now.
Oh, yeah.
So what did that mean? That meant there's a more focal point on the outside of the house. You've got more pools, more spas, all those things going in. Yep. Now the fence matters.
Yeah.
Where it didn't matter before.
You had to travel to get that vacation experience, and now you're trying to get that feel in your backyard.
Exactly.
Now, you know?
Take 20
and
steps.
the fence is part of that.
Yeah.
Because,
absolutely.
you know, if you have the pool and the pergola and all that, and your fence is falling over, it doesn't have that same vibe as it would if everything's, you know, just looking how you really want it to look.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Brett, what do you think, kind of switching gears here, what do you think where's the market going? Like, what's the future for Fencetrac? And what do you think the future is? We discussed that already, that people are looking for more durable products, you know, better, longer lasting things. But what do you really see as the core for you guys and where you're moving forward in the next couple of years?
Well, we do sell a lot of cedar tongue and groove inside our fence frame. Okay. It's the price point's a little more attractive than your vinyl and composite. But over the last 3 years, we're seeing people say, you know what? I'd rather go ahead and spend a little more money and be one and done. And so we're seeing more demand for composite or vinyl, but they do love the word composite. The reason why is I think they think of strength.
Yeah.
They think of impact resistant. They think of, and so we knew that we had to come out with something that would be all those things, you know, something that's strong, something that will last a long time, something that looks beautiful, no maintenance. And so that's where the LuxeCore thing, that looks great, by the way. But that's where the LuxeCore, you know, came up, and we decided, you know, they really want Fencetrac. So we would partner with a lot of people, and we still do, and we always will. I mean, we're not going to be like, hey, if you use our frames, you have to use our infill products.
Yeah,
if you find a product that you really like, then we're, you know, hey, we'll sell you the frames and the posts, and you can put what you want in it. But a lot of people, though, would prefer us to be a one-stop shop. They don't want to have to go 3 different places to get everything they need. Yeah. So we knew we had to come up and develop an infill product that would last. And so LuxeCore is what we're working on. And we're hoping to release that at Fencetrac.
Awesome. Yes.
So, I mean, I hope everyone comes by and checks out the booth, and we should have it ready by then. We're doing a lot of R&D right now. We thought we had it ready to release this December, but we wanted to make a few more changes and tweaks because we want it to be the best it can be.
Yeah.
And so we pulled that back just for a little longer, just to make sure it's going to be an awesome product.
So there's another example of failing forward.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You have these visions in your head of how it should go, and it never goes that way. And, but honestly, Nate, if these things didn't happen to us, we wouldn't grow. True. We wouldn't learn from these mistakes and they end up being blessings, and things work out better. So like when we started in the conversation where, we thought Ameristar was going to just take our product and we could be sitting on a beach and, just collecting royalties, and it didn't happen. It was the best thing ever happened because there's so many neat things that I've got to do so many awesome things since then. And then going from, trying to land these major distributors and thinking that everything's just going to just start,
all the sales are right in front of us.
And all that stuff's going to happen.
Yeah.
But just because it doesn't happen on your timeline doesn't mean, that you can learn something and grow from it. And it ends up being better. If you just put your head down, you believe in yourself, you believe in your product, you learn from your mistakes. And that just, for me, because I don't want everyone thinking that we developed Fencetrac and everything just went perfectly.
Yeah.
I want everyone to take from this podcast that I know all of us are going through something right now, and it'd be easier just to quit and give up. It'd just be a lot easier. Go work for somebody else, give up on your dream. But I highly encourage you to just put your head down, figure it out, and you'll look back and go, oh my gosh, I'm glad that happened to me. It's a blessing that all that happened to me, and it ended up working out for the better.
Yeah. How much growth we get through the adversity. It's just like building a muscle. There's two things you made me think of when you said that, Brett. Like when we work out and build muscles and stuff like that, we got to tear it down to build it up.
Yeah.
You can't bulk up.
That's right.
Unless you're putting it under stress. You're literally destroying the tissue to rebuild it. And then not to get spiritual, but I often think of, God's delays are not God's denials.
Yeah.
And regardless of what anybody thinks out there, there's something to be said about the universe may not line up with what your vision is, or what, things aren't happening the way that you thought they were.
Doesn't Garth Brooks have a song called I Thank God for Unanswered Prayers?
Yeah, he does.
That's a good one.
We know that guy. that makes us cool. So anyways, is there anything else you want to share with everybody out there to kind of put a bow on this thing?
Man, it's really just, if you have a dream and a vision, whether it's in the install side of things or the manufacturing side of things, stick with it, believe in it, don't give up, keep going, and don't quit until you reach those goals. And then the only thing I would ask is to give back.
Yes.
So, I think that's huge. Because, the biggest thing you can do is help others. And that's kind of what I told Nate I'd like to do, is just be vulnerable on this. I don't want to let everyone think Fencetrac just has no issues and no problems and everything's just gone smooth. Be vulnerable. It's not a weakness. That's a superpower, being vulnerable. Because, you can inspire a lot of people that if you've done some things and you're open to people and you share knowledge. It's going on in the industry everywhere. Dan and Cannon, Joe, Sean King. Dan Wheeler. They're laying out these opportunities to help people grow, and it's just a beautiful thing. And if we all act like, we don't need to, they're competition, or, we don't need to help them. That's where what makes everything, beautiful and wonderful is just to help each other out,
And it makes it a lot more fun too.
It does.
When we can all grow together and get better together.
Yeah.
And stuff. Well, man.
Yeah. I'm glad you invited me.
Yeah.
What a great show.
Of course, we would have Brett being the title sponsor, and everybody check out Fencetrac.com. That's FENCETRAC.com. and you'll hear more and more about the LuxCore product, what's going on with that. I'll be, as we get the actual samples beyond what you see on the wall there, in stock and everything, we'll probably pop in a couple episodes here and there.
Come see us at Fencetrac if you guys are coming down.
Yeah.
It's in our backyard.
Yeah.
Oklahoma City.
Man, we're so excited.
Yeah.
Fencetrac, beginning of March, first week of March, like the 1st through the 3rd or something like that. But it's going to be bananas. I mean, you guys are going to have a lot of fun coming to Oklahoma. Welcome. So, man, thanks so much for being candid. We appreciate Brett just sharing his heart, going through everything that he's been through in business. And if you guys have questions or want follow up on any of this stuff, feel free to email us as well at info@protectingyourradius.com. We'd be happy to kind of go through that. And again, we appreciate Brett and his whole team for making all of this and having this be part of his dream child of giving back to the industry. And man, we hope we just do what we can do to make this thing fly. So appreciate you guys. We'll see you on the next episode. Peace.
You've been listening to the Protecting Your Radius podcast from the LuxCore Studios in Bixby, Oklahoma. Thanks for sticking around, and connect with us and all of our partners at www.protectingyourradius.com. We want to thank our premier partners. LuxCore, the newest line of premium quality composite infill to slide into your Fencetrac fence system. Frame your style today. Also, StainTrac, the world's first patented standalone stain machine. Utilizing flood coat technology, StainTrac covers boards, pickets, posts, and any type of dimensional wood you can think of. And what better way to use your StainTrac machine than to use the easy application Wood Defender family of stains. Wood Defender goes on easy and covers in one coat with no back brushing. And of course, the true power of our show is you, the listener. Please rate and review our show on whatever platform you consume this content. Your 5-star likes and reviews help other contractors get the message that we all want to be better and do better. And in the construction world, we can never forget that before you can be great, you've got to be good. Before you can be good, you've got to be bad. But before you can even be bad, you've got to try.